Love seeing everybody coming in. I love seeing everybody being a part of this. And also want to let you know that every Friday we're doing this because we know that we're going to be able to give you some value that you're going to be able to adjust and utilize in your business on a daily basis. You're going to take and leave with some ideas today. We got 3 amazing agents from across the country. They're going to give you some great ideas. Seeing those coming in now on mine: Pennsylvania, Denver, Tucson. Is that Hawaii? Coming in really early this morning from Hawaii. Omaha, Bluebell, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, Georgia. Come on, everybody. Great to see everybody coming in now. And listen, we're going to kick this off, if you don't mind. We're going to kick this off, actually, with Chris Kelly, the CEO and president for Home Services of America. Chris, glad to have you here. Man, look at all these folks piling in here. Chris,
awesome.
Glad to have you this morning. Love for you to share a little bit of kind of what you're seeing right now. Get us kicked off, if you don't mind.
Yeah, real quick, Jimmy. One of the things you and I were talking about last week was in 2025, we have more listings that are being withdrawn than we've had over the last couple of years. And I was kind of curious as, why is that? Why are more listings coming on the market, but then coming off the market? And I think it's actually a pretty simple answer. I'm just going to share my screen here real quick. And I don't think it'll be a surprise to many of you, because what we find is that the consumer often lags in what is actually happening out there. So this is something that several of you might have seen before, but right now about 8 in 10 sellers think they're going to get their asking price or more, right? So 46% are thinking they're going to get their asking price. About 35% think that they're going to get more than what their asking price is. And so kind of living in a past market, right? The reality is 4 in 10 sellers are selling their house for less than their asking price, right? So about 28% are selling for asking price, 27 maybe above in those certain markets, but the vast majority, nearly half of them right now, are selling below asking price, which is normal, right? It is normal to have price adjustments through a listing. But what I think happens is that a seller comes into the market and they have an expectation of what's happening 6 months ago, a year ago, maybe even longer, based on what a neighbor did in just a different market conditions. And they don't pay attention to this as close as we do and stuff. So again, 1/3 of sellers had to reduce their asking price. When you look at that, 1, 2, 3, even 4+ times. And when we look at the value right now, where is it that the consumer needs the agent the most right now? It's what I've got here in the red circle. It's the gap between the blue is what the median asking price is, and then the green is the median sales price. So green is what the buyers are willing to do. The blue is what the sellers are hoping to do. That gap is where the true professional comes in. It's like in any negotiation, how do you bridge the gap between the seller's best case scenario and worst case scenario and the buyer's best case and worst case scenario? If you can't bridge that gap, then a deal doesn't come together. And that's where the real professional right now is exercising their influence, their expertise, and their knowledge is in that gap between those two lines. And this works even with buyers, right? You have to let the buyer know that, hey, you're going to be working with a seller potentially who has an expectation, something that's different than what the market's currently bearing out. And so it's important for the buyer to understand the emotions that the seller may go through during a negotiation, just as much it is important for us to show the data for the seller. So when we think about having price adjustment conversations and what that means, let the data do some of the heavy lifting for you as an agent right now when you're working with a seller, to show them the reality of what's going on right now. And again, this could look very different from each of the individual neighborhoods and markets that you're in. But that's the key, is really showing how do we bridge that gap from the seller expectation to what the reality is, because there always is going to be a lag, just like we saw a lag in the COVID craze, where buyers had to catch up to the fact of how much power the sellers had during that phase of the market. Sellers are now having to adjust a little bit to coming back to earth on a bit of a balanced market. So just kind of wanted to show the data is really kind of showing why we're seeing an uptick in those withdrawal of listings. It's just sellers kind of not wanting to face the reality of where they are. And the desire for trying to get something that's really not out there is more important than selling their property in the current moment.
Yeah, Chris, I love this and the way that you put that, because it is a very good example of what we saw on the flip side during COVID, where it was the buyers having to make that adjustments. Now we're having those sellers make that adjustments. And I know you and I were out in Omaha at the Explosion Conference last week. We were hearing from a lot of agents about some of the things. The markets are different everywhere. You want to kind of explain? Obviously, we have these parts. I remember you told me one time that like our market was kind of almost like the leading indicator of the leading indicator of real estate.
Right.
So a lot of times what we're seeing is you may be seeing this if you're in a market that has not seen some of these things yet. be prepared because the markets do change at different times in different areas. And a lot of times it can be a tip of a hat of what you're seeing in other markets. You want to share any kind of advice for any of those folks that maybe are in markets and maybe they're seeing that they're still in tight markets, just being prepared, I guess you could say on that.
Yeah,
And being
no,
that
I mean,
prepared.
our peer Gretchen Rosenberg shared a great kind of chart with us where it's literally 50-50 right now. Half of the markets are seeing year over year price depreciation. Half are still seeing price appreciation. Now, the price appreciation is back to that 1 or 3%. We're not seeing 11, 12, and 15%. And the declines are relatively minor as well, too. And if you look at a 5-year track, so before anyone panics about price depreciation, on average, the country is up 50% over the last 5 years. So if you're year over year down 2 or 3% from what, a property was selling for a year ago, you're still up 47% over the last 5 years. So this isn't like dire straits or anything, but it is to note about half the country is in that gauge. And it almost is the more of a COVID craze you went through of a market, the more likely you are on the flip side of that now. The more that you kind of typically go through different cycles and more of less of these peaks and valleys, you're probably not seeing it quite so much. But everywhere we're seeing from the numbers, we are returning closer and closer to a balanced market, whatever that might mean in your particular area. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing for buyers and sellers to have a little bit of control in the situation on a balanced standpoint, as opposed to what we've seen in the past when it gets really imbalanced one way or the other. And parties feel like they kind of have to do anything and what they can in order to attract a buyer, or a buyer has to give up everything in order to, buy a property. And what we see in those situations is, and the data bear on this, was like 50% of the buyers had a little bit of regret after buying a house in 2020, 21, and the front half of 22. Not because they didn't like the property, but just they probably felt like, I had to give up more than what I would have liked to have given up in order to buy this property. And so balanced markets is where we'd like to be in the long term. And we're getting closer to that. And that's not a bad thing.
That's really good stuff. Chris, I really appreciate you always coming on, popping on, give us some insight. Thank you again for doing all that you're doing for the industry as a whole, and especially for us here at Home Services of America. So
trying to be Jimmy Jr. over here.
Come on, man. Come on. Aim higher, brother. Aim way, way higher.
Well, I'm going to let you guys get
you.
to the real stars of the show here. So.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Really do appreciate it.
All right.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. A couple things I want to go, and then we're going to get Julie queued up here in just a second. So a couple of things I wanted to share. Just some things. We had Jimmy Mackin on last week, or a couple weeks ago, rather. He's going to be on again in a couple weeks. I spent some time with him yesterday, and we were going over some of the things that they're doing over at Listing Leads, which is really driven by direct mail, communication through email, some of the social posts. A couple of these that he gave me, and we're going to see some examples of some of these here in just a minute also, this is actually a letter that he is utilizing on Listing Leads for the ability for someone who is maybe an out-of-town owner that has a long-term renter there. What we're seeing with that is typically those type of people, they're like sharks. They move. They either love the investment they have and they're looking for another investment property, or there's someone who is just fed up with the calls they get. This is a letter that kind of speaks to that for those out-of-town owners. Now, listen, let me say this. We're going to have copies of all of these examples you're going to see at the end, so stick around. We'll have some of that coming up at the end as well. But a couple of others just really quick. This is one with Zillow letter. I'm going to hold off on this because we're going to see a real-life example of this in just a few minutes. But this is one that this is a postcard. Should I sell my home this fall? Now, if you want to take a snapshot of that, you can, but we'll have some of these at the end, or you can reach out to me. But basically, this is the context they're doing. If you're confused, you're not alone. So this is where Jimmy Mackin and his team do a great job of just writing these things out in a way that makes it very easy for someone to do. Soft, easy, no friction close at the end. To get your home, to get your valuation, simply text your address to, and it's basically to their cell phone number, and I'll get it prepared for you. So this is a real easy one for that. A couple other quick ones, and then I want to get to Julie, is if we're looking at this one, this is actually driven at someone that has been an expired listing. To Chris's point, we're seeing more and more as the days on market go, we're seeing more and more homes expire. That creates an opportunity. The best agent, as we talk about every week, just about, it seems like, is the second agent. So this is one that actually goes through and has a specific thing written specifically to someone who's had their house that's been off the market, expired for a little while. So basically, it's like it's been 535 days since you first listed your property. You can copy this model. This is great to give. It's a crazy idea to revisit the thought of selling. So I have to ask you, is it a crazy idea to revisit the thought of selling? and if you're open to conversation. So this is a great copy for those. The last one that I wanted to share was another one on the expireds. Okay, this is one that basically is a postcard that can be sent out to those expired listings that have been off the market for a little while. 5 ways to instantly attract more buyers without a major renovation. So this is what that looks like, okay? What we're talking about here is this is just going through and giving a few of these. And then at the bottom, if you decide to give it another go, I'd love to share with you a real-time market analysis for your home, a quick a quick win ROI checklist, and a custom recommendation marketing plan, all for free. So these are some ideas. Now, Julie, if I could, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to give you the full screen here. Julie, if you can, share a little bit about yourself, where you're located, your business, and then we're going to get into some of the things that you're doing and some examples.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Jimmy. Julie Colleen. I am in the St. Louis market. I've been licensed selling since 2018. And prior to that, I was the marketing director for select properties here in St. Louis. So, yeah.
Yeah, Julie was a part of the Rethink Council when Vince and I were working on that, and one of those things, and Vic, and one of the things that I loved was Julie was very particular in sharing a lot of the things that she was doing. So I'm going to go back and share my screen again, Julie. What I'd love to do is kind of go through and just show some of these examples, and then let's talk about what those looked like for you. Okay, so I'm going to go back and just kind of start from here. You do a lot of things in your specific market. Tell us a little bit about kind of why you focus and where you focus and what that looks like, especially if it's like, geographically some of these focuses you do.
Yeah, sure. So this particular thing here, so I have a farming area, an actual subdivision. It's about 275 homes. And I decided I wanted to target these homes. It was a higher price range in the area I lived in. And I have been farming it for about 3 years. So these are the things that I've done this year. I start off the year with this calendar of events. So I wanted my name to be in their house 24/7 all year long. So I created this magnet that literally had the list of all the events I was going to do within the subdivision or that they were invited to. So I created the magnet, I created a mailer, and on this letter, I do have a call to action about real estate in it, but I also have it just a short letter in there letting them know that all of these events are approved by the HOA, but they are not associated with the HOA because I really wanted to make sure that they knew that I was the one putting all this on. I included the envelope on here too because I wanted people to know, like, this is a little bit of my marketing background. Everything is branded. And so when they get this in the mail, this is going to be, it's gonna stick out from the rest of the mail. They're going to open it. So that's kind of why I put that envelope on there to show that it's always just a little step above what other people are doing, sticking to brand colors and all that.
Hey, Julie, you just briefly mentioned this about choosing that specific neighborhood. When you first started, because I think there's probably some people here that are trying to figure out what neighborhood, you mentioned the price point. Was there a reason you specifically chose this one, or what did you look at to make that decision for this neighborhood?
Yeah, this particular neighborhood, I actually love this neighborhood. It has walking trails in it, it has a lake. It's really about lifestyle, but it also has three different, now four actually, they just did new construction, four different communities within it. We have villas, so we have the older generation, we have um, higher end homes that are, $1 million. Then we have the 5 to 700,000 dollar homes in it that are more families and stuff. So I felt like it was a good subdivision, 275 homes. To me, that was obtainable. I am able to get in front of it. It wasn't too big. I could handle it. I could get to know people. They could get to know me. And the location of it is just fantastic. So it was more about the lifestyle and the people that were in it. That is why I chose it.
Hey, Julie, another thing is like when you started, you didn't have all of this. I mean, they're seeing kind of year three. And so what I want us to do is maybe we can go through each of these. And I know we got some flyers on
Yeah.
these specific events. But I'd love for you to kind of just share, like when you first started, what were some of the first things that you thought of as far as the foundations to begin to farm that neighborhood? Because you're really active in that neighborhood. But were
Yeah.
there some things when you first started you did?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say that when I first started, the HOA did not want me in there. So I had to kind of wiggle my way in, and I talked to one of the members and I said, listen, I am not a salesperson. I want to give value. I'm going to help you, which in turn is going to help me. So I won him over and brainstormed with him some ideas. And um, the number one idea was the dump or donate, which I'll get into. But I wanted to make sure that I'm not selling myself. I want to provide value to this community to where they fall in love with me. And then I kind of earn their trust that way. So, everything, nothing I do is salesy at all. It's all about just providing value to them and what do they need. At this point, I actually survey them. What events did you love? Each year I do it. What events did you love? What events do you want to see? And then I kind of come up with a list from there. So it's literally their voice telling me what they want.
Yeah, this is great. Well, this is the dump or donate, which is one of the
Yeah.
smartest things I've ever heard to do for a neighborhood. You want to explain kind of the process, and then we'll look at actually the mailer here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just pick a weekend, 2 hours. I I now reach out to the dumpster service that they all use, the trash service. They will donate a dumpster and then I'll pay for an extra one. So I get two dumpsters there. And then I partner with Habitat for Humanity and they'll bring their big box truck and they'll sit there for the 2 hours with me. They absolutely love this event because, it's higher end homes in our area, so they get good quality stuff that they're able to have donated and resell in the restore. So um, they literally just empty out their houses. They love this event. I mean, they ask for this twice a year, but I only give it to them once because I want it to be good when it happens. But so I sit there for 2 hours, literally with a dumpster and a box truck, and I help them get all their stuff out of the trucks. It's just one-on-one time for me. Costs about maybe $500. I throw out the postcard on this particular event. I do throw out the postcard on it to make sure that we have good attendance, but it's they love it. They love it.
Is there any other communication other than the postcard that you do to the neighborhood to let them know about this, or anything
Yeah,
along those
I'll
lines?
that magnet which has all the events. I do the postcard, and then they have the subdivision page that I put all my events on.
Great. Is that like a Facebook page
Yep.
that's there?
Yeah.
And is that something where they've just allowed you to be on that, or did you create that Facebook group?
No, they allowed me on.
That's amazing because a lot of
Yeah.
them will not. That's why I think
Yeah.
and that didn't happen overnight, like you said. That took some
Yeah.
time earning that trust, doing those things. So let's talk about that. The people show up. Basically, they first go through and they go through the box truck to see if there's anything that Habitat wants, and if not, then it goes in the dumpster. I guess is that
Yep.
kind of the
That's
flow of
that's
this?
exactly it. Then they're on their way.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
What are some of the feedback you've gotten on this? And like I say, it's a high impact, low dollar with the sponsorships and things you're
Yeah.
doing. Impact on this.
Yeah.
Any feedback?
It's this particular one. I don't sell myself. I I I do try to capture any of their information. So I ended up over time, I kind of met some of the people that lived in there, and there was a new and upcoming photographer that lives in that neighborhood. And I reached out to her, and I was like, "Hey, I got the dumper donate. I'd love to help promote your business too." I said, "Would you be willing to give me a mini session or something like that?" It's like you could do it in the subdivision, all that. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I would love that." So if you go to the next slide, you'll see like
Yeah.
when I go, I capture. Um, this is the flyer that I actually hand out to them, and then they go into a drawing. So I have them fill out their name, phone number, email, address, all that. And I gave away this mini session um, for anybody who filled out all the info, and everybody did. Um, Talking about the flyer, um, I feel like it's really important for me to promote people within also. That kind of goes back to the I don't want to be a salesperson. So
Right.
it's another way for me to help them, I guess. So promoted her business on there, captured all the names and stuff, and then I just update my database of all these addresses of who I didn't have already, and have a little blurb on there about myself on the bottom of it. Um, of course, I also want to give them updates on what's going on in the market. So, honestly, the day before the event, I pulled out some stats from the MLS on the city, and then I threw it in the Claude, and it's like, here's the stats. There's the prompt I did. I'm creating an 8.5 by 11 flyer. Blah blah blah. Um, Leave me 2 inches at the top for me to customize it, and threw in the stats, and it produced this flyer. Printed them all off. Good to go. So
That's
that
great.
took about 5 minutes, honestly.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, let's keep moving here. This is
Yeah.
the garage sale.
Yeah. So garage sale was something else that they wanted. This is the first time I did the garage sale this year. So for me, I was like, my goal with this was make sure I get a ton of people into the neighborhood on this day. Um, Make sure that I stay in communication with them throughout so they saw the value and got a sample of my communication. So 4 weeks out from the garage sale, I send them this checklist, which is a week by week thing that they need to do to prepare for it. Making sure that my banners and my signage, and I'll say this for the dump or donate as well as this one. Anytime I do a banner or a sign, I make sure that I don't have dates on it. And I also make sure it's generic enough to where it just says subdivision garage sale. But it's all around that subdivision. They know what subdivision it is. They know what the date and time is. That's going to be any subdivision I do. That's going to be the sign that I use. So I make sure when I do those banners and signs that I am thinking ahead so I can reuse them down the road and not blowing money by making it so specific.
Yeah, this is so
So
smart.
the I basically my goal with the garage sale is you get find all your junk that you're going to get rid of. I'm going to take care of the rest of it. So did the checklist, obviously the banners and signs there. I had a couple of communications with them via email, and I set it up to where they have to sign up for it. So it automatically goes in my database. And then I already had a campaign set up. So that was automatically going out. So little legwork up front, but it was automatic from there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hey, and I noticed we've
Yeah.
got some people that'll have their hands raised. Listen, we're going to do Q&A at the end. If everybody can hold off, we're going to get through everybody's stuff. We got a ton of good stuff to show. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit. This is just some more that you were doing follow
Yeah.
up for the garage sale, or how did
So this
this
is day
work
of
with this?
stuff. So day
Okay.
of, so I know I'm at this point, I'm capturing everybody, obviously, who's doing the garage sale, but I want to capture new people that are actually coming in and shopping. So
Yeah.
I did at the entrances of all of the entrance of subdivision, I had the old school flyer boxes that you used to put in the front of the house. And that flyer box label, the top right, that's what I put on the front of those flyer boxes. And then inside was the map on the front, and then on the back was my call to action, thinking about buying or selling, blah blah blah. So the maps, those I'm shocked, I didn't know if the maps would go over well. I'm so glad I printed off so many because I had to refill those little things like 3 times during this sale. Anyway, but it had the addresses and just had the map of where they needed to go. I also delivered a half dozen donuts to everybody who was holding the garage sale open because I wanted to get that face to face time with them. And then that's the label, the donut box label that I just stuck on top of all the boxes. Garage sales are better with carbs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just another little personal touch to be able to, love on them a little more. So,
Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
Julie, you know what I love about this is if somebody's out here and they're like, gosh, this is a lot. Look, you could do one of these events and make an impact. Julie just dominates this neighborhood
Yeah.
because of the amount of stuff she does. But it
Yeah.
didn't start that way. You were starting with one or two events and then it just
Yeah.
continued to kind of grow from there. So
Yeah.
let's go on to the next page. This is kind of, you do the scholarship, which I love, the idea. What is this exactly, and what's the thought process?
Yeah. So um, I didn't realize until now that my kids are getting close to the college years, I didn't realize how much debt kids had because of student loans, and that kind of honestly it pissed me off. So I was like, how can I give back to help them? So I created the scholarship. I've done it 4 years now. And I do it to the general public, but I also do one specific just to this neighborhood. And I did that originally because I created a landing page on my website just for this neighborhood to talk more about the neighborhood, to really brand it. I have the HOA docs on it, all of that stuff. But I also wanted to, my original thought was it was instead of them doing an essay on, I don't know, something random, I wanted them to do an essay on why they loved growing up in Barrett Haven. And I was going to use that as testimonials on this website. So that's how it kind of kicked off. And now I just continue to do it every year. So these are kids that I have given scholarships to throughout the years. So
Julie, this is so
this is my feel good with the subdivision for sure.
I was going to say this is so
Yeah.
smart too. I mean, we're talking about throwing events. We say this all the time. If you do something for somebody, they'll remember it. But if you do something
Yeah.
for their kids, they'll never ever forget it. And
Yeah.
so this is one of those that, first of all, it's the right thing to do. It shows your heart, who you are, actually a servant to the community, and just so smart. I mean, I'd love for people to share with you because surely there's going to be some people that are going to do this in their neighborhoods. I'd love for them to share with you and with me when they decide to do that because this is
Yeah.
a great idea. Love this.
Yeah.
All right. Now you got your videos here. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to play this. This is actually, tell us what it is, and then I'll play the video just so they can get a flavor of what this is. I won't play the whole thing, but just to
Yeah,
taste that.
so mailers cost a lot, and I feel like I also need to hit them in other ways. So I decided to do the quarterly stats, do it in video, and it is a little longer, but it's specific to their neighborhood, so they're interested in the particular homes that I'm talking about. So I do this on the Facebook page. I just do a quarterly stats update with them, and then I do a postcard at the end of the year talking about all of it. So,
All right, let me play this just so they can get a kind of a flavor of it.
Hi, Barrett Haven.
Hear
It's
it?
Julie Coley with Berkshire Hathaway. I am coming at you. We are starting fourth quarter, so I wanted to get you updated on what has been going on in the market in your area. So here we go. All right. So I was
And you're just doing this with a green screen video, just simple, right? Pretty
green
straightforward.
screen video. I mean, you'll just see different reports from the MLS in here. Totally simple. And it's more about this video is, yeah, they're probably like, what are those? But it's about my words that are coming out and summarizing it for them is kind of the bulk of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving
Yeah.
because
Yep.
so
Perfect.
this is another end of the year stats.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward here. Anything in particular you try to do? This is just another touch point, or anything in particular you're trying to accomplish?
Another touch point, obviously, get the nosy Nellies, get them all the stats that they want to see. But I also like you'll see here on the left some random snow photos. There that actually that same photographer, which is why I found out she was a photographer. She posted some photos in there and on the Facebook page, like, hey, look at our beautiful neighborhood. I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. It's beautiful. I was like, I'm going to use it on my postcard. So I reached out to her and said, hey, can I use this? I'll shout you out. She's like, absolutely. So trying to personalize everything I do to the neighborhood is really important to me. The other thing
Yeah.
on here on the back of it, I two different things. I shouted out, I want to help support small businesses. So if you are in the neighborhood, you're a small business, you want support from me, send me your info. Let's collaborate on it. The other thing is the little box down there was I had a very specific buyer for one section of that neighborhood. And I was like, hey, who wants to sell? I have a buyer. Let's chat, whatever. So
Yeah, great. Love this. Love this. And then I don't live in this farm area. Fact.
yeah,
And this is what's great about it is I think some people think that to be truly dominant, you have to be a member of that community. You're a member of that community, but you're not
Yeah.
actually physically living there, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I pulled this neighborhood out of the wind. Like, and I feel like this title summarizes my role there. I'm a neighbor in spirit and your community supporter. So that goes on all of my, I don't hide that I
Right.
don't live there, but I also don't say I don't live here. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
kind of
this
how
is
I put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really good because obviously I think some people, it's almost like the 8 Mile. Maybe there's another agent that lives in there that might be trying to say, well, but she doesn't live. You've already called this out. I mean, you've already
Yeah.
done this.
Yeah.
As
It,
far as your social media, this has been fun for me to watch. Were you going to say something else about that before?
yeah. What you just said, if there's another agent in there, there is another agent in there who absolutely calls it out. But at this point, I've been showing the value through my events and all the things I do to give back. They make fun of her for it now. I'm not kidding. Like, and I stay out of the drama, but I
Right.
just let them handle it. And by me providing that value, it trumps anything that she has done. So yeah,
This is
that's
such
real
good
life.
stuff. Yeah, this is great. On your
Yep.
on your social media, you gotten really hyper local on this
Mhm.
stuff. You want to talk
Yeah.
about kind of what your focus is there as we wrap up?
Yeah. So coming into this year, I have focused on, yes, I do that farming, but I also focused on kind of the county that I lived in, which is, I wrote this down before, 560 square miles and 423,000 population. That was what I was focused on. And I went to a video conference and talked about hyperlocal social media and really targeting hyperlocal. It scared the bejeebies out of me, but I trust the process and I went for it. So now I am targeting Darting Prairie, which is where my subdivision lies in. It is 5 square miles and 14,000 people that live in it. Everything that I do now on video is literally targeting that area or locally surrounding things that they would venture out to. It's been awesome. The community sees it. I get requests from businesses. Can you come feature us? I've gotten leads now off of Instagram that, hey, I found your videos on social media. I'm really intrigued by this, would love more of your knowledge. Yeah. So and I've only been doing I've been 4 months. I started it and I try to put out 3 videos a week. And they're kind of random videos, but they're like, what do the people want to hear about? And it's not all real estate related, actually, at all. It's a lot of community related.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Julie, all this is thank you for always being so transparent, so
Yeah.
giving with the information. Listen, I don't know if Sam has not gotten a chance yet, because I haven't seen those, but if he hasn't, love to get your social handles put out there on the chat. I would encourage you to follow Julie. You're going to see some exact things you can do. Again, at the end of this, we're going to have these for you. So Savage, if you're in the background, if we haven't gotten that yet to Sam, please check on that. But Julie, thank you so much for everything. If you will, stick around for some Q&A at the end, if you don't mind. And
Absolutely.
all right, next up, we're going to come to Lindsay. So Lindsay, if we can have Lindsay come forward and put her up, and then we'll get started. Lindsay Levine is actually coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia. And so excited to have you here, Lindsay. Tell everybody a little bit about your business, kind of what you do, and kind of the areas we're going to talk about as far as not just geographical and direct mail, but actually getting involved in a specific part of your community, if you don't mind.
Great. Thanks for having me, Jimmy. I enjoyed listening to Julie. So I am an Atlanta native, and I primarily focus on more of the northern part of the city, so Buckhead, Sandy Springs, Roswell, and mostly single family is what we have in townhomes here. And I've been with Prudential Berkshire Hathaway for 13 years. I practiced commercial real estate law before I got out of that world, and I love it. So. been here a long time.
So you and that's two of y'all. You and Chris are recovering. Legal from the legal background. So it's perfect. All right. Well, look, I'm going to share my screen because you got some amazing stuff to share as well. And what I want to do is I kind of want to go through these with you. And let's start with we're going to just kind of walk through time with this Mountain Air homes kind of situation. If you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about, these are going to be specific postcards, as you can see here. Tell us a little bit about this and kind of what the thought process was with these.
Yeah, so this is my neighborhood, Mount Air in Sandy Springs. And I've lived here for 12 years, and the price point's about, I would say, 900 to 2.5 million. And but it's within the greater city of Sandy Springs. And so we have 330 homes in our neighborhood. And what I've always tried to do is one of my team members, Brett Friedman, who's in that picture with me, she also lives in the neighborhood. So it's always been really important for whether it's the stuff going to the school or to the neighborhood, for people to know that I'm like them. I live here. I'm from here. I'm born, raised. I've lived here, 46 years. My kids go to the school. So we always try to drop where Brett's kids went to school, where my kids went to school. And so people can, relate to us, and they recognize that we're kind of in the same season of life and doing this together. So I've done like Julie, I've done a lot of the mass event focused kind of mailers and events and everything, and I've kind of changed it over time, and my mailers have changed, so they're more just going like expert in the area, like the people, and when I have events, they're invite only, not the big shredding. And I did this one that I wanted to tell people about with Election Day coming up on November 4th. At least here we have like a big mayoral election, and so I've done like a coffee truck on that morning because the kids don't have school. So I got Chick-fil-A biscuits, I got coffee, go vote, bring the kids by, and things. So that was really fun. I did that one year. So it's just something to think about with that coming up. But yeah, so this is like trying to show people I'm the expert. I've lived in we've both lived in the neighborhood 28 years, and where our kids went to school, and some homes that we sold, just trying to, continue to show credibility, and that we are the go-to in the neighborhood, which, that's what people think of when they think of me.
And this one's almost like, it's like you're continuing this, because this is like from 2020. I'm just kind of showing the progression here, where you're talking about the highest land sale. So you're showing your expertise in the neighborhood. A lot of the same kind of bullet points when you're doing these, almost, to continuously have branding that just tells the story, I guess.
Yeah. I just want people to know that because we do get a lot of direct mail from agents, and they'll be like one-offs kind of thing. And, it's just continuing for people to think of me as the expert and their friend and someone just like them.
Yeah. And then if we're moving on up over to, this is like one from last year, another one, the story, you're telling the story, the story of 3 homes, and you're telling those sold stories. And then also, just showing this again as the expert. So some really clean stuff here. This is an interesting concept, and we talked a little bit about some of the things. Tell me, I mentioned about listing leads, and you and I have talked about this before. I mean, whether it be through me sharing some of the ideas from Jimmy, or Jimmy sharing some of my ideas, it really is. Hopefully this has been helpful for you with this.
Yeah. Oh, and on that last one, I also pointed out that I'm a notary. So I get so many calls about people in the neighborhood wanting to come have me notarize documents for them. So it's such an easy thing to do. Become a notary, and you will meet a lot more of your neighbors. And I own the Facebook page in the neighborhood. I created it, so I always let people know. On this particular thing, this is straight out of Jimmy Mackin. I'm a huge fan. I love ripoff and duplicating his stuff. I did this one I didn't do in a letter format, but I have done it in a letter format, and I think you've got the one coming up, and sold this home and told it's straight up what Jimmy had put up, or what I think your son-in-law had done.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
turned it.
so Noah did one like this, and basically it's a threefold letter, where basically, when they open it, the top part, same thing you did, when you and I talked about yours, but he just did a little bit of a twist on this, where he kind of had a timeline for here's the story. Same setup though. I mean, if you look, I mean, because you've done two of these, it's the same. I got to work, multiple offers, buzzworthy launch, masterful negotiations, and this is another one that you did. I got to work. It's the same. Once you find something that works, just keep running that thing. This is a different type of thing than just a typical just listed, just sold. Hey, listen, the just listed, just sold still work, but if you can put a twist on this and you get an extra couple seconds of view, again, to your point, it just helps with the branding of what you're doing there on those things. So
I reuse
makes
my
sense.
stuff all the time too, Jimmy. Like I'll tweak that a little bit, and so it doesn't just go to that neighborhood, and it goes in my American Lifestyle magazine, as well. Just so, did you see how I sold this, home, not just your neighbor's home? So I just reuse my stuff all the time and just slightly tweak it. This is another thing Jimmy Mackin was doing with the Zillow letters. This is actually a screenshot that I received from someone who got this letter, and they asked me to come and meet with them. I sent 150 letters to people who had lived in their home for more than 10 years, because I figured that's long enough that they might be thinking about selling. And in my geographic area in the city, where I kind of work the school district. And yeah, I went and I met with them, and that's a $1.3 million house. And we're talking about what we're going to do with it in the spring. So it worked. And I was so excited to get the screenshot, and we hand addressed all of those. It is labor intensive to go through and get those screenshots from Zillow and dump them in there, but it was time well spent, for sure.
Think about that one listing at that price point, what that value was. That's the thing. One's better than none. And look, this is amazing to see those results. This is one of those letters that, I love the fact, Lindsay, you take action on this stuff, because these are the type of letters that are generating some results right now. They set you apart. They're a little bit different. Again, it does take you time, because you got to print what it's showing on Zillow, and you do those things, but it absolutely works. So I love the fact, and I love the fact that you had the screenshot ready with one of those examples. Hey, you do a lot of, obviously it's not just market updates to the neighborhood. You want to speak to like what this is here.
So always getting people to think of me as the expert. And I mean, my vendor list has divorce attorneys on it, and all kinds of stuff. And so people call me for everything. So I'm always trying to. This is a hidden list. I mean, it's not accessible unless you have the link on my website, because I don't want everyone to be able to access it for liability reasons, etc. So I mean, I put this. I love my American Lifestyle magazine. So this is direct mail I do to my sphere. And I've been doing it for 12 years, since I got in the business. And people love this magazine. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. And that, I've got postcards with the vendor in the magazine. I've got it on the back of the magazine. And of course, on mailers that go out. But letting people continue to know that, you are the go-to, and just call you. But that ever since I hosted it on my website, it's been much more like on a hidden page. It's been much more productive than just having it in a PDF form or just sending off random numbers to people here and there.
Hey, Lindsay, mention the magazine company again for people that may not have caught that. And then also, how many roughly of those do you send out, and what do they cost you?
Sure. I spend about $700 every other month. And I've been doing this for 12 years. The nice thing about this, it's the Reminder Media is the company, but the nice thing is you can it has your picture on the front. I'm also a senior real estate specialist. So I'm always trying to figure out how to relate to people. People have old parents now, so that's kind of another geographic or another farming area. But I customize the back of it, and then I look on the inside of it. I have the how did I sell this home ad? So I'm reusing my stuff all the time. But people love this magazine. They think you are so impressive because you're on the cover of this magazine. And I've been doing that for 12 years. It's great. And it has staying power because it has no date on it. So it lives on their coffee table.
Yeah, Luca Cree and that crew over there, they do an amazing job with those as well. And again, it's another way to set yourself apart. This is another one. What's really going on in the market? Instead of just doing the stats, you're actually using this to send to a video for people to connect. Correct?
Yes, yeah. I think I did a recent one. I think you have a slide of it later, but yeah, just trying to drive people to my Instagram page.
Great.
Same.
Tell us a little bit about this one. This is a newer one that
Yeah.
that I really like.
This is a postcard, a video I just did last week, and the postcard's going to go out. My goal with direct mail is for people to continue to see my name or my face, and for them to go front, back, trash can. I mean, that's really the reality of it. I mean, to get value from it, hopefully, and scan whatever needs to be scanned. But so I figured this winner or loser, so that's gonna pique someone's interest. So trying to do a big tagline, like somebody, I don't know, it might have been one of the things last week you guys were talking about, how you just do the few little words on the front of the new posts, and it gets people's attention. So that's what the goal of this one is. So my picture is going to be like kind of massive in everyone's mailbox right now for this coming up mailer. This went out to like 900 people. But that's okay. Hopefully they'll scan the video.
Yes.
This is all about, the market shift. So
Yeah.
I have like
Good.
different
Hey,
spheres that I send to.
Hey, look, we've talked geographically, but you and I have all talked a lot about over the years about how you really focus in on the people that are in the same season of life. You're really active in your school. It's almost like your school is your farm, where your kids go. You want to talk about how you're active in that as we wrap up and kind of what you do there, because I think that's just such a valid point that everybody can hear on finding their people, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So I have 40 people coming to my house tonight, 40 11th grade parents. And so it's much easier for me to volunteer at the school in the capacity that I can see parents. That's just authentic to me, and it also helps with my business. So I have, but I'm always wanting people to know that I am part of the community. So I don't know if you have it, but I'm in the playbill, the upcoming playbill for the school, and I'm very clear about I am a Galloway mom. My kids go to a smaller K through 12 private school here in Atlanta. And, I want people to know I'm a mom, because they're more likely to work with people that are just like them and similarly situated. But besides running those ads, I'm never letting people know that this is, who I am. I'm the first to comment on the pages at the school when people post questions on the Facebook page. People kind of think of me when they think of the school. I'm always trying to volunteer in a capacity where I'm the welcome wagon. So I volunteer with the admissions. Even when they were in public school, I was always trying to figure out who were the new families, who were the new kids, and inviting those families over to my home for play dates or what have you. So trying to find, how are you going to reach people in that transition period? So if you volunteer on the board of your neighborhood or your swimming pool, be the membership chair, because that's going to signal to you who's buying and selling. I volunteer at the school in the admissions capacity. So I'm the welcome wagon and I'm the go-to, and they ask for that vendor list, and it all just works off of that. So I have a lot to say about the school and the things I'm doing there, but that's the gist of it.
It's really just getting involved. I mean, and this is the other thing is whatever it is, wherever stage you're in life. You and I talked about when I was a first-time home buyer, early in my career as a young agent, I mostly worked with first-time home buyers. When we were upsizing because we had kids, typically that was what my client looked like. Just whatever season of life you're in, you're involved in, that can be your farm. Just get active there. It's not like you're trying to sell anything, but just if you get where you're giving service, you will absolutely see service come back to your business for sure. So Lindsay, this has been great. Hey, Sam, if we haven't had Lindsay's stuff in the chat, please share that. Lindsay, thank you so much for always being there. If you'll hang around too, we'll have a Q&A here after we get done with Brew, and we'll bring Brew Krebs up now if we can. We're going to actually move just from Sandy Springs to Midtown Atlanta with Brew Krebs. And Brew, as you're coming up, I'd love for you to kind of share a little bit about yourself, your business. You're having your best year ever. Everybody, we're hearing about all these. Yeah, man. And so this is why I wanted to really bring it home with you is because you're doing the consistent things that are generating some business. So you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your business?
So, Jimmy, I've been in the real estate business for 30 years. I started out as a home builder in South Georgia, building little tract houses. Moved here to Atlanta in the early 2000s and got into selling real estate in 2005. I worked through those horrible years we were in foreclosures with 15 different banks selling foreclosures, which was a nightmare of a business. Then I moved back into resale in 2015. This is my Phoenix year, which would be my 10th year as a top producer back in the board of realtors. I work mostly the in-town real estate market, neighborhoods like Midtown, Old Fourth Ward, Buckhead, that kind of stuff. Anything we say that's kind of inside the perimeter, that's mostly where I'm at. And I'm hyper local to Midtown and Old Fourth Ward because Old Fourth Ward is where I live myself. Mostly condominiums and townhomes, a few single families that pop in and out there. So a variety of business, but mostly focusing on condos and townhomes because that's mostly what we see inside the city.
Yeah. And Brew, what do you think the difference is to make this be your best year? What do you think you've done a little differently?
Jimmy. It's consistency.
Yeah, man.
No question about it. And it's just being in front of people on a regular basis and making sure that you continue to be the knowledge broker and the person that they see as their local real estate agent. And I've got a few little farms that I do. I've got one, which is my building that I live in, plus the 2 buildings that are outside of our complex. It's about 450 units. I've got a couple other neighborhoods that I've circled around $1 million plus listings. And I do about 75 around each one of those. We also went through and we skip traced those neighborhoods so that we get people's phone numbers and email addresses at least as best as we can. And you can simply go on to Fiverr and go, skip trace real estate, and you'll find somebody that can do that stuff for you really, really cheap. So I've kind of implemented a multi-platform way of reaching to people, whether it's postcards, emails, newsletters. I do some stuff with Perplexity, which I think you've got a couple of the examples of that. We'll kind of go through and look at those. Reaching them on lots of different levels and being consistent. I mean, that's really more than anything, that consistency.
Yeah, let's go through some of these because I want to share some of these. And like I say, we'll have all these examples coming up here at the end. But look, some of this stuff, we're going to go through relatively fast, pretty straightforward. Look, this is fundamentals, right, Brew? I mean, literally, like you said, it's not even just, don't overthink this. When you're doing these, is there a particular company you're using for these? Is there something did you design these, or how did you get started with these formats? Actually,
Randall here in my office did the basic template design. We use the same sort of thing over and over again. We send them through Express Docs, pull the addresses from the MLS. It's really, really simple. We keep those addresses updated annually, at least, so that you're not sending the same old people. But the template is very, very similar. I mean, for pretty much everyone. And I send these to all the farms, especially the high-end ones. Those are the ones you want to send to all your farms the most. So trying to reach them on every step of the sale, whether it's just listed, under contract, just sold, do a couple of different ones because I like to switch them in and out because you don't have a just listed or just sold or every time that you go around. I do these every 15 days to my groups that are in my farms. So we try to keep me in front of them as much as possible so that when they think about buying or selling real estate, they call on me. You talked about doing drives and stuff like that in the neighborhoods. I've done the sock drive and along with the detailed letters. And just the other day, I had a neighbor downstairs who's like, man, we really love that you do the sock drive. We really love that, you keep us updated with factual information, with data and statistics. And we want you to list our property. I didn't even have to do don't even have to do a presentation. I had the same thing, this one you're looking at now. The lady across the street, she's like, we're getting all your mailers. She stops me in the middle of the subdivision. We're getting ready to list our home either at the end of this year or the first of next year. We want you to come list it for us. When can you come by and take a look at it and give us your opinion on the value? But that sort of stuff really does resonate with the neighbors. What you're flipping up now is a flyer, and I basically take these around to the neighbors. Whether they're home or not. If they're not home, we'll leave it on the door. If they are home, knock on the door. Hey, I'm Brew Krebs. I just want to let you know I listed 1829 Buckhead Valley Lane. It's a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath. I'd love it if you come on Wednesday for the neighborhood open house because I do a separate open house for the neighbors themselves because I want them to get it out of their system and make sure that I can meet as many sellers as I possibly can. And like a Wednesday or Thursday night is a really good one, especially if you offer them a little bit of wine.
The wine never hurts. Never hurts, does it?
Never hurt.
Brew, like one of the things I noticed, I want to just notice this. I mean, the templates that you're using are basically the same. What are you doing for the lead capture portion here where it's like want to know your home's worth? Is it driving it to a specific
It drives it to my
software?
website. Drives it to my website where we capture their information.
Okay.
I love capturing it
Perfect.
personally, doing the walkthroughs. I mean, to be honest with you, that's one of the best ways I've ever connected with people in the neighborhoods and found other people that are looking to buy or sell. Is walking door to door and talking to the neighbors.
Yeah, man. See, this is the fundamentals of making this. And what I love too is you're combining multiple ways. You're not just depending on the direct mail. You're not just depending on the door knocking. You're doing a combination of these, and we're going to see some of the emails in just a little bit as well. And look, you told me that, I mean, you're doing about one every 2 weeks right now. That's the consistency and where you're really ramping this up. So you don't have a just sold, just listed every time. So these are some of the examples of postcards you've done there, correct? And like the buyer's needs. You want to explain this one and any stories on any of these, let us know as well.
So I had buyers looking for specific properties that we couldn't find in the MLS. So I sent them around to my farms. I had one call. She was nothing close to what we wanted, but off of this particular postcard, but it gave me another interaction with somebody who's considering selling their home at some point. So, and able to capture their information and keep the conversation going with them on a regular basis. I'd say about a quarter of my business right now comes from farms. Most of it's past clients and sphere of influence and farm is where all of my stuff comes from. And I'll tell you too, the thing about the mailers is it's not like, oh my God, you send out a mailer and 100 listings come in your door. It's a very long-term, consistent process that you have to do all the time. I had a lady who we listed her loft and she's like, I've just been stuffing your postcards in the back of my sofa cushions for 2.5 years. And we came time to sell our home because we wanted to move up near our grandchildren. And you were our logical choice. I'm like, okay, I never met you before. I've never really sold anything, but she already had it down as me as her agent, just because she got the repetitive postcards. I mean, it's like Coca-Cola. You hear it enough times, you're going to drink a Coca-Cola, right? So you just want to continue being in those people's minds, stay on top of mind. That multi-platform stuff really, really does help. I do some events as well, especially in the main farm. The main farm I have is the building I live in also. So I hold, like I've got an end of summer soiree coming up on September the 20th at my place. I have a top floor unit that's got 2 floors. So it's a great place for entertaining and doesn't cost me anything. So we invite people over for that. I have a Thanksgiving potluck dinner that we have, sock drive that we do. All those kind of things really do help you connect with the neighbors. And they think you're like the nicest person in the world. It's because they get to meet you.
You are, Brew. Come on, man. You are. I mean, you are. I mean, it's a way to show that in an outward way. But I mean, the thing that I love that, I mean, you're so active in that community. Like you say, you're having neighbors stopping you as you're walking. And some of that stuff is because of that consistency. And this is another example of just showing your value through a piece. You just pulled some Google reviews, I'm assuming, on this, correct? And that's
right. Just pull a few of them and sit them out there, and it just gives people your credibility that you know what you're doing, and that you're like this one, #1 for the month of July here in the office. It lets people know that you are good at what you do and that you're a professional, and gives you just that additional credibility.
Yeah, you mentioned, and here's another one. This is a staging one. I do want to get to what you're doing with some of the email. A couple things you mentioned as you're skip tracing and getting those emails, and you can do that with Redex, you can do it on Fiverr, whatever you're doing. But you've got these set up with different statuses. In other words, you've got your sphere, a prospect, a new lead. All of these are just groupings so that you can send specific emails to certain people. This is just an example of an email. You're doing how often are you doing the emails out to the database?
Every single week every Friday at noon, they go out.
Perfect.
And then the newsletters, which you can get on Resource Center, which are really, really easy to do if nobody's done those. They're really, really, and they look fantastic. In fact, I had a guy, Bill from Colorado, call me a few weeks ago, and he's like, I use these just to explain how to do newsletters to my agents. He's a broker. He's like, I always remember Brute Krebs. If I need anything in Atlanta, you're going to be the first person that I call to. I'm like, I really almost didn't want to tell him that those came from the Resource Center.
Yeah, I know. You should take all that credit. Rude. I
Right.
mean, that's you should take all that credit. Now listen, you mentioned
Okay.
perplexity. You're using
Yeah.
this for a couple different things. I'd love for
Mhm.
you just to explain this, and I'm going to scroll through real quickly and show what
Yep.
it gave you.
Okay, well, at the
What you
top
were
right
doing.
there, I've got the command that I gave Perplexity. And then it comes up with this detailed information of what's going on in the marketplace, what's happening around this particular home, what's going on with listings, what's going on with buyers, what's in the mindset of these people. And then I basically copy and paste it over to Berkshire Hathaway letterhead and sign it at the bottom. It'll give me a detailed chart, and it tells them based on market data. Now, of course, I don't include all the citations and stuff that in my letter, but it does give them a really good fact-based market analysis specifically around their condominium. And it can help them, decide where they need to be. And it does help tremendously with people thinking about what their price is.
Yeah, another example of this. This is one you did for letter to the neighbors.
Right.
And I'm just going to scroll through this where people can see. I mean, look at the detail information that it provides,
Well,
and it's ready to go. Obviously, Brew, you're making some adjustments to some of these. This is one for the Midtown market, mostly condominiums. Give me basic, and look at all of this overview it gives. And the takeaways. I mean, it's just amazing what we can do with AI now.
Complexity's
Brew,
amazing.
as far as like there's probably some agents as we're wrapping up, and then we'll go to
Yeah.
Q&A. As there's probably some agents out here that maybe aren't having their best year ever. There was probably a moment. I know when we were talking when I was in Atlanta a month or so ago, we were talking about what the difference has been, and you just said, "Hey, I just got committed to the consistency." If you could go back and speak to those agents or encourage them that are wishing they were having their best year ever, what would you say to that group, and how did that look when you first got started, really getting serious about it?
Start somewhere, write out a plan, stick to it as best you possibly can, and make those systematic templates. I mean, that really did make a big difference. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time. Learn how to use AI. Perplexity has been phenomenal. I prefer Perplexity to Chat GPT because it pulls all that market data and statistics and stuff like that. Use NAR RPR. That's another one that I use a lot of. And then, of course, your data from your MLS. And you can throw those in Perplexity. You can take a screenshot of them and it can read the image and write your report based off of the images. So it's really, really simple.
Brew, thanks again.
Yes, sir.
Obviously,
Thank you.
if Sam has not gotten your contact information, get that up. Hey, speaking of that, I want to be cognizant of everybody's time, but a lot of times the best stuff comes in the Q&A. We're going to have that open now. If you need to leave, have a great weekend. But Sam, you, Savage, want to thank the two of you for producing everything, making this flow so well. And if we can bring Lindsay and Julie up along with Brew, possibly, and let's see if you've got any questions, Sam. If you've got some questions, drop them in the chat there, and we'll be glad to see if we can get to a few of those now, if possible. So, Sam, anything pop up that we should address first, or any questions we had?
Yeah, what company are you using for your printing, like specifically postcards and any flyers? Are you using any national companies, or are you using local people? So we'll throw that to Brew.
Express Docs.
You're using Express Docs. All three of y'all are using Express Docs.
Docs.
That's a easy one. I love that. Listen, when you got three pros doing the same thing, man, that's an easy one to model after. So, Sam, any other questions? Because I've got a few if we don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Do your strategies work across all price points? Do you feel, Lindsay? What do you say to that?
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm just letting people know that I'm the expert, and I also every once in a while I'll push stuff out saying I work with all price points. I just want to work with good people. And so I'm really focused on people. Give me the good people, whether it's your condo you've been renting out for a while. But I think a lot of people get confused that I'm just a luxury agent, and I have to keep reminding people, just send me the good ones. Give me the good people.
And Julie, you've done these things across you've actually moved up to a luxury. I mean, and you started doing different things with different markets. You want to speak to that as far as, obviously your marketing background, what you would say to that, or how you would answer that?
Tell me the question again. Sorry, I was trying to
the question
answer
was
Q&A.
the things that you're doing, like the dump and donate. Do you feel like it would work in a lower price point neighborhood as
Oh.
well as a higher price point or anything?
Oh,
Any of
everybody
the
has
things you're doing?
junk. I don't care how much money you make. Everybody's got junk for sure.
Absolutely. I know.
And another
And
one
Brew,
for Julie.
obviously. Yeah,
We've
go
got
ahead.
another one from Julie from YouTube. Somebody moving to Dallas. And how did you get the HOA to allow you to do events in there? How did you sweet talk them to get them on your side?
Yeah, so there's the HOA has the homeowners, but they also have a corporate company that manages them. I reached out to the corporate company first and schmoozed her and talked about I want to bring events, and I made it all like butterflies, rainbows, and ice cream cones. Like, let's bring this group together. And she then connected me with she trusted me enough to give me a cell phone number. So then that's just was my end.
I would say also Brew, obviously, all three of them have led with service. It was not, can I sell you something? It was literally leading with service. I mean, whether that be from service in the school, whether it be dump or donate, whether it be a sock drive or a end of summer soiree. I mean, everything is done by leading with service. And when you lead with service, some HOAs are going to be tougher than others. But if you lead with service, and eventually, especially if you're consistent, like Bruce talking about, you're going to see some results.
Mm-hmm.
Brew, how many postcards do you mail? What's the cadence and what's the volume?
Every 2 weeks, it's about 600 postcards.
Outstanding. And for each of you, and we'll start with Julie, what percentage of your total sales do you attribute to the farming, the direct mail approach that you use? We'll start with Julie.
Yes. So the past 3 years that I've been farming it, I've had 7 sales within that farm area. I would say 6 of the 7 are from farming. And I know this is kind of a question that's out there. I probably spend with all of my events, including scholarship, just giving money, maybe 3,000.
I think the question, 50% of my business is within my city, my smaller city, not necessarily within my neighborhood, but I farm different neighborhoods within my city. So I would say, and every time, there's a potential lead or whatever, I'm sending the mailer. So I would say 80% of my business comes from referral. And so within 80% and then 50 of that's within my area, it's working.
Excellent. Brew?
So like Lindsay, most of my business comes from referral or from my farm. And I'd say 25% of my total business comes directly from the farm, postcards and stuff like that. Then you've got your past clients and sphere of influence and those kind of people. They bring up the difference in most of what you get. And then of course you pick up the other ones, open houses and those kind of things. So I'd say a solid 25% of what I do comes from the direct farming stuff that we do.
Yeah, that's a big amount of business for Brew. The question, Sam, let's do a couple more questions and then I want to make sure they can get back to work and we can be cognizant.
Everybody wants to know about the socks. So Brew, what about the socks? Tell us all about the socks.
I mean, basically all I did was take a plastic bag that I got from Amazon and stapled a letter on it, put it on everybody's door, said, hey, I'll be picking these up on whatever it was, the morning of December the 15th, Saturday morning between 6 and noon. And they all had them out there.
And Brew, who does it benefit? That was one thing. I know the story, but I wanted, if you could share that kind of what you do with the socks once you get them.
The Atlanta Homeless Mission.
Yeah. It's a great organization and a great focus. And Brew, tell them a little bit about kind of like the letter that you put on there, and you explain to them what it is about, if you don't mind, when you're putting that there. And then kind of what the description like. Yeah.
So basically, I just put a letter. It's about a paragraph and a half. Talks about we're raising for the neighborhood. It's going to the Atlanta Mission for our neighborhood if we can specifically. Donate on a specific date. It's really not that complicated. It's pretty simple for it. If you have any questions, text me or call me. I'm more than happy to come pick them up ahead of time, or you can leave them at my door. That kind of stuff. So it's really very, very simple.
Yeah, man, but it's so impactful too. I mean, that's one of those again. There's not a big, I mean, Bruce doing this because that's his heart. But I will tell you, when you show who you truly are, people notice,
That's
and they know.
good.
And the thing that happens is that when you're showing that you care, people will begin to care about you every single time. So love that.
Big shout out to Kimberly Waterhouse. I don't think we've had a question like this, and I like it a lot. So here it is for each of you. I'll just start with Lindsay on this. What money have you spent that was an epic failure that they should
Great question.
that they should avoid?
Great question.
Oh God, you throw a lot of stuff on the wall. So much of it doesn't stick. Oh yay. Oh God. What has been an
Hey,
epic?
Lindsay, let me while you're thinking
I'm
about
gonna-
that, I'll just do mine. I'll do mine real quick. Rogaine. Totally kidding, but I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. Sorry.
Julie, go
Yeah.
for it.
So mine is probably most recently, and it's not so specific to farming. It is all of the AI, the tech, all that stuff. And when I hear something I get excited about, I'm like, I need a subscription. I need this. I need that. But then I don't use half of it. So I think that is for me where I have just recently coming back from Explosion and dialing it down. Thank you, Andrew Undum, and
Taking a
and
breath.
focusing on what I need. Yes.
Hey, speaking of Andrew Undum, great opportunity for me to plug. Andrew will be on next week talking about 3 systems every agent needs. So that'll be coming up next week, just so you know. Brew, what about you? Anything you can think of you spent money on you shouldn't have?
Much like Julie, I do buy every subscription that comes out, and then I whittle them down every couple of months. I'm like, okay, this is too many. I'm not using half of these. I'll tell you, Reevaluate was probably one of the biggest losers for me. I don't know if you've heard of that. It scores people on their score of moving from 80 to 100. I got it from one of the coaching web summit conferences, and it's just not done anything. And it was like $3,000 a year. It was totally wasted.
I figured mine out. It was the CRM. I got top producer, all these, tried the different CRMs. I use an Excel spreadsheet, and it works. And I have an assistant and we manage it, but I run the whole business, anywhere, some years, usually at least $20 million in sales, and some years double that. Off the account.
See, that's the beauty of this. I think it's a perfect example, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or it's the most expensive CRM. The one that you utilize and you use is the best one you can have. And so don't let envy of what other people do, and don't judge your chapter 2 on somebody's chapter 7. I mean, look, what you see Julie doing, what you see Brew doing, what you see Lindsay doing, these are, I mean, we're talking about over 3, 4, 5 years that they have built these things up. I mean, Brew has really ramped it up this year, but these are things that just give yourself some grace there and just start somewhere. Start doing some of those things. Sam, one last question if we've got one, and then we will wrap up.
One last question for everybody here. We've got a number of brand new salespeople, brand new agents in our call today. So, Julie, we'll start with you. One nugget that you can give all of the new licensees that are just starting out. What's the biggest impact they can have on their business today?
Don't be a secret agent. I would say, don't worry about what you look like, what you sound like on video. Just start doing it. Use teleprompters if you need to. Just start getting out there and showing your knowledge. And just as long as you know more than them, you're a genius. Like, you're an expert. So I would just say, just get out there and start working.
For me, I mean, it's pick up the telephone. As Jimmy Burgess says, rich or broke. And that is absolutely true. I mean, even if it's just, hey, what's going on? I hadn't talked to you in like 6 years, even though I sold you a house 6 years ago and I totally forgot about you. You don't say that, of course, but you call them and say, hey, I hadn't talked to you in 6 years. What's been going on? Just something to speak to the people one way or another, even if it's a text message that you can get out to them, or one of those videos. Jimmy and I have done a few of those videos back and forth to each other, and those work really, really well. In fact, he made me step up my game just a little bit because he was doing them.
My advice is, let people, of course, know that this is what you're doing now, but don't have commission breath. So I always tell people that, what I've always said is I never tell people that I'm a realtor, but I ask them where they live and they'll tell me the street. And then I always say, oh, of course I know where that is. I'm a realtor. And then that opens the conversation. So that is the way that I get in what I do for a living, but I never tell people what I do. And I have seen so many agents just embarrass themselves because they have come in so strong and let everybody know that they're in real estate now and buy or sell with me, and just be authentic to who you are, whether it's on video, do the things that make you happy. If that's, volunteering with your kids or in the community or whatever, just be authentic because it really shines through, and don't be attached to the outcome. If you can go into an appointment and not have that commission breath and be attached to the outcome, you're going to crush it because your confidence is going to shine through.
Really good stuff. Hey, Sam, by the way, if we did not get those, all of these examples, these PDFs where we could share them with everybody, I can send those out in a mailer to everybody that registered. But did we happen to get that? Do we have that available?
Yeah,
If
so
not,
all of those links were put into the chat there. So if everybody just take a look at
Killer.
the chat, click on those links, and we're all good to go.
All right, great.
And we'll
All
put
right,
them
listen,
out in the newsletter.
Okay, great. Hey, listen, I just want to say thanks. Obviously, listen, Julie, thank you so much. Brew, just great stuff. Lindsay, great stuff. Sam, Savage, thank you for producing this. Y'all, it feels like every week this stuff is just coming with such great ideas. Look, if you're an agent that is watching this and you've got something specific that you do in your business, the value of this group and of this mastermind is the sharing of ideas. Reach out to me and let me know what it is that your superpower is that you can share, that we can add value, and we'll be having an episode coming up next week. I hate to be Andrew, had to follow through y'all. Andrew Undum next week. He's going to be sharing 3 systems in your business. And so just be ready because he will light this place on fire. Again, thanks everybody and have a great week. And we'll see you guys next week.